10 single-player games you can grab right now on PC. Some of these you know. A few, I guarantee you missed. Let's get into it. Kicking off the list at number 10 is Thymesia, a Souls-like action game that casts you as Corvus, a plague doctor trying to piece together his lost memories in a kingdom that's been absolutely ravaged by disease and twisted alchemy. If you've played Bloodborne and wish there were more games that captured that kind of dark, aggressive energy, Thymesia is going to speak to you. The combat is where this game earns its spot. You've got your standard saber attacks, but the real hook is the claw system. You can rip plague weapons right out of enemies mid-fight and use their own abilities against them. It gives every encounter this layer of improvisation that keeps things from feeling stale. The game is also noticeably shorter than most Souls-likes, clocking in at somewhere around 8 to 10 hours, which honestly works in its favor. It doesn't overstay its welcome. Now, it's a little rough around the edges. The environments could use more variety, and the story is delivered in a fragmented way that won't click for everyone. But as a focused, challenging action game with a killer combat hook, Thymesia earns its place here. It's best suited for Souls-like fans who want something tight and aggressive without a massive time commitment. At number 9, we've got Mad Max, and I'll say it right now, this game got done dirty at launch. It came out in the same window as some massive releases and just got buried. But if you go back to it today, it still holds up remarkably well. You're out in the wasteland, building up your car, the magnum opus, from a stripped-down shell into a rolling war machine. The vehicle combat is the real star here. Ramming, harpooning, sideswiping convoys across the desert, it just feels right. The on-foot combat borrows from the Arkham school of rhythmic brawling, and while it's not as deep as Batman's, it's satisfying enough, especially once you start chaining together shotgun blasts with counters. The open world can get repetitive. There's a lot of clearing camps and collecting scrap, but the atmosphere is nailed perfectly. The wasteland genuinely feels desolate and hostile, and there are moments, especially during the massive dust storms, where the game becomes something almost cinematic. If you're a fan of open-world action games and you missed this one, it's absolutely worth picking up now. Number 8 is Weird West, and this one is special. It comes from Wolfeye Studios, founded by Rafael Colantonio, one of the minds behind the Dishonored series and Prey. So when I say this is an immersive sim, I mean it in the truest sense of that term. It's a top-down action RPG set in a dark, supernatural version of the American frontier. You play through 5 different character stories that all connect and overlap in surprising ways. The werewolf bounty hunter, the cursed settler, the pigman, each journey feels distinct, and the game gives you a ridiculous amount of freedom. You can sneak, talk, bribe, burn down buildings, poison water barrels, or just go in guns blazing. The simulation runs deep enough that your choices in one story actually ripple into the others. It's not the most polished game on this list. There's some jank, the UI can feel a little clunky, and the difficulty can spike in weird ways. But if you value player agency and creative problem-solving, Weird West offers something genuinely unique. It's an immersive sim wearing a cowboy hat, and honestly, we need more games with that kind of ambition. Coming in at number 7 is Expeditions Rome, a tactical RPG set during the late Roman Republic. You play as a young Roman whose father has been murdered in a political conspiracy, and your path to justice takes you across North Africa, Greece, and Gaul as a military commander. The tactical combat is turn-based and surprisingly deep. Positioning, class abilities, terrain advantages, it all matters. But what elevates this game is the layer on top of the battles. You're managing a full legion, making strategic decisions on a campaign map, upgrading your outpost, and navigating political intrigue back in Rome. It's a lot of systems, but they feed into each other in a way that feels cohesive rather than overwhelming. The writing is strong too. Your companions have real personality, and the historical setting is handled with enough care that it feels grounded without being a dry history lesson. This game is definitely niche. If turn-based tactics and historical RPGs aren't your thing, this won't convert you. But for fans of games like XCOM or Divinity who want something with a different flavor, Expeditions Rome is a genuinely excellent time. At number 6, we have Banishers, Ghosts of New Eden from Don't Nod, the studio behind Life is Strange. This one flew under a lot of radars when it launched, and that's a shame because it's doing something really interesting. Set in 1695 in a fictional colonial settlement called New Eden, you play as 2 ghost hunters, Red and Antia. Early on, Antia is killed and returns as a spirit, and from that point forward, the entire game revolves around a devastating choice. Do you find a way to resurrect Antia by sacrificing the living, or do you let her go and focus on protecting the people of New Eden? Every haunting case you investigate feeds into that central moral tension. You interview townsfolk, gather evidence, perform rituals, and ultimately decide who's truly to blame. And those decisions carry real weight. The combat is solid, letting you swap between Red's physical attacks and Antia's spectral abilities mid-fight. It's not the deepest action system out there, but it serves the game well. Some of the investigation sequences can feel a bit formulaic after a while, but the emotional core of the story keeps pulling you forward. If you love narrative-driven action RPGs where your choices actually matter, Banishers deserves your attention. Number 5, and this is the game I will never stop telling people to play. Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy from Eidos Montreal got unfairly lumped in with the disappointment of Marvel's Avengers, and that killed its momentum at launch. But make no mistake, this is one of the best narrative action games of the past several years. You play as Star-Lord, leading the full team of Guardians through a completely original story that has no connection to the MCU films. The writing is genuinely fantastic. The banter between characters feels organic, the emotional beats land hard, and the way the team dynamic evolves over the course of the game is just masterfully done. It won Best Narrative at the Game Awards for a reason. Gameplay-wise, you're directing your team in real-time combat, calling out abilities, and combining attacks. It's more strategic than it first appears. And the licensed soundtrack absolutely slaps. Hearing a perfectly timed classic rock track kick in during a big fight is the kind of thing that just makes you grin. It's a linear, story-driven experience, so if you're looking for an open-world sandbox, this isn't it. But as a tightly crafted narrative adventure with characters you'll genuinely care about, Guardians is a damn good time. Number 4 is Metro Exodus, and if you want atmosphere, this is the game. 4A Games took the claustrophobic, tunnel-crawling survival horror of the first 2 Metro games and opened it up. You leave the Moscow Metro behind and travel across post-apocalyptic Russia aboard a train called the Aurora, stopping at semi-open-world regions that each have their own feel, their own dangers, and their own stories. The gunplay is weighty and deliberate. Weapons degrade, ammo is scarce, and you're constantly crafting and maintaining your gear on the fly. The game respects your intelligence. There's minimal hand-holding. Your map is a physical clipboard your character holds. Your objective markers are a compass on your wrist. Everything is designed to keep you immersed, and the environments are stunning. From the frozen Volga River to the sun-scorched Caspian Desert, every region feels alive and hostile in different ways. The Enhanced Edition with full ray tracing is one of the best-looking games you can play right now. Metro Exodus is perfect for players who love atmospheric, story-driven shooters and don't mind a slower pace. It's survival horror meets road trip, and that combination works way better than it has any right to. Number 3, Resident Evil 7, Biohazard. This is the game that saved the franchise. After years of Resident Evil drifting further and further into bombastic action territory, Capcom stripped everything back, locked you in a decrepit plantation house in Louisiana, switched to first person, and said good luck. And it worked. The Baker family is one of the most memorable groups of antagonists in horror gaming. The house itself is a character, full of locked doors, hidden passages, and the constant feeling that something is watching you. The first few hours of this game are genuinely terrifying in a way that very few AAA titles manage. The survival horror fundamentals are all here. Limited ammo, inventory management, puzzle solving, and boss fights that test your resource discipline. It's a tight, focused experience that doesn't waste your time. The pacing is excellent, moving from claustrophobic horror to more action-oriented sequences as the story escalates without ever losing tension entirely. If you have any interest in horror games, RE7 is essential. It revitalized one of gaming's most iconic franchises and set the stage for everything Capcom has done since. It also supports VR if you really want to test your nerves. At number 2, we have Control from Remedy Entertainment, and honestly, this one could have been number 1 on a different day. You play as Jessie Faden, a woman who walks into the Federal Bureau of Control, a secret government agency housed inside a brutalist skyscraper called the Oldest House, and immediately becomes its new director. The building is alive. It shifts and changes. Reality doesn't work right inside it. And everything, every document you find, every side mission, every strange object locked behind security, builds out one of the most fascinating fictional worlds I've encountered in a game. The combat is incredible. Jessie gains telekinetic powers over the course of the game, and once you're fully powered up, launching chunks of concrete at enemies while hovering in the air and firing your shape-shifting service weapon, it just feels phenomenal. The destruction physics sell every encounter. The world building is heavily inspired by things like the SCP Foundation, and if that means anything to you, you already know you need to play this. The atmosphere is eerie, the lore is deep, and the ashtray maze sequence alone is worth the price of admission. Control is for anyone who loves strong world building, satisfying combat, and a setting that feels genuinely unlike anything else in gaming. And at number 1, it's Nier Automata. If you know, you know. And if you don't, let me try to explain without ruining it. On the surface, Nier Automata is an action RPG set in a far future Earth where humanity has been driven to the moon by alien machines. You play as 2B, an android combat unit, fighting alongside your partner 9S to reclaim the planet. The combat is developed by Platinum Games, the studio behind Bayonetta, so it's fast, fluid, and deeply satisfying. You're chaining light and heavy attacks, dodging with precision, and swapping between weapon loadouts seamlessly. But here's what makes this game number 1. The first playthrough is just the beginning. Nier Automata is designed to be played multiple times, and each subsequent route reveals entirely new perspectives, new mechanics, and new layers of story that completely recontextualize everything you thought you understood. By the time you reach the true ending, this game will have done things to you emotionally that you did not see coming. I'm not going to say more than that. The soundtrack is one of the greatest in video game history. The philosophical themes about consciousness, purpose, and what it means to be alive are handled with a level of care and nuance that most games don't even attempt. And the way director Yoko Taro uses the medium of gaming itself to tell his story is nothing short of brilliant. Nier Automata is for anyone who believes games can be art. It's challenging, it's beautiful, it's heartbreaking, and it's absolutely the best game on this list. Before we wrap up, I've got 2 bonus games that didn't quite fit the main ranking, but absolutely deserve a shout-out. Nobody Saves the World from Drinkbox Studios is a top-down action RPG where you can transform into over 15 different forms, from a slug to a dragon to a horse to a bodybuilder, and mix and match abilities between them. The progression loop is wildly addictive. You're constantly unlocking new forms and figuring out bizarre ability combos that probably shouldn't work, but absolutely do. It's colorful, it's funny, and it's a perfect palate cleanser between heavier games. Encased is an isometric RPG clearly inspired by the classic Fallout games. Set inside a mysterious dome filled with anomalies and factions, it offers deep character building, multiple story paths, and that old-school RPG freedom where you can talk, sneak, or fight your way through almost anything. It's rough in spots and won't appeal to everyone, but if you've been craving something that feels like Fallout before Fallout went 3D, Encased scratches that itch surprisingly well. So there it is. 10 single-player games you can play right now on PC or PS5, plus 2 bonus picks for good measure. If you enjoyed this one, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.